Okay, all right. So we started talking about chapter 3, that's coordinate geometry, and we discussed how to find length of line segment and midpoint. Okay, so that was fine. So then we talked about a few questions where we just used the midpoint concept, and then we had a parallelogram. So the important thing was that in a parallelogram, if you have two diagonals, their length is going to be, their midpoints are going to be same. Okay, that was important, very, very important. Again, in case of a parallelogram, we have two diagonals. The midpoint of the two diagonals is going to be same. Please write it down. This is very, very important. Okay. The next concept was basically about parallel and perpendicular lines. In case of parallel lines, the gradients are same. Perpendicular lines, the product of gradient gives you -1. And then we discussed this question where basically 3 points were collinear, which basically meant that all the 3 points were lying on the same line. So that was just this. If I was using two different combinations for finding the gradient would be same because all the points were lying on the same line. All right, okay. So by now we had this much discussion about the contents. Okay, now the idea is that from now on, in every class, in the last 20 minutes, we will be talking about the past paper questions of that very topic, but for understanding purpose and for that, we cannot use the PDF thing that we discussed yesterday. That is against the policy. Like I cannot show you a worked example and then explain that because it's maths and some students get confused. So we will just be doing tricky work problems, and then at the end, we will be doing past paper questions, okay? By the end of every class. Okay, anyways, this chapter is comparatively easy. So yes. Okay. The next and one of the most important topics is basically the equation of straight line. Okay, let's quickly go through that because again, this is something that we already know, but obviously we need to do it for the sake of completeness. It's the third unit of the third chapter that says equations of straight line. Okay, this is basically the topic. Okay, now we know, all of us know that when it's about the equation of a straight line or equation or a linear equation, this is how we write it down: y equals mx plus c. Why is it linear? It's linear because the power of x is 1. The important part is that this is basically your gradient. It is the gradient of line, and this part right here is basically the y-intercept. Okay, this is what we need to remember. Okay, now again, this is the slope-intercept form because this is the slope, this is the intercept. If you've been asked to find out the equation of a straight line, you have multiple ways. Obviously, the question is not going to be that simple that you already have the y-intercept and gradient and you need to find the equation, but it depends upon the scenario. Okay, let me just write down all the equations that you guys can use. This is the first type. It is the slope intercept form of the equation because we have slope and intercept clearly written over there. Then we have the point slope form. This is the point slope form, and we write it down this way: y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Now this is y1, this is x1. So x1, y1 is basically the point, and this is again the gradient or the slope, whatever you want to call it. Okay, So we need to remember these two types, and obviously this thing would be used with other concepts, right? Before this we have talked about straight parallel lines and perpendicular lines, and we know if two lines are same, their gradient is going to be same, and if they're perpendicular, the product of the gradient is going to be -1. Okay, so we will be using multiple things at a time. Okay, all right, so let's talk about a question. Question number one. Okay. And Rafa, I won't be doing these simple questions from now on. Okay. So I got your point yesterday. The difficulty level is going to be good. You would get to see such questions in past papers as well. So don't worry about it. Okay. This question is basically find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line segment joining A and B. Okay, all right. Now please pay attention, all of you. The question says find the equation. You need to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector. What exactly is a perpendicular bisector? A perpendicular bisector is self-explanatory. We make perpendicular bisectors for different line segments. So for instance, just for instance, let's say this is AB, okay? Forget about what coordinates you have. I'm just giving you an example. Just assume that this is AB. So now if I am to make its perpendicular bisector, that line is going to be something of this type. I know it doesn't look like, but the blue line has to be perpendicular with the yellow line, and the blue line has to cut the yellow line at exactly the midpoint of the yellow line. Okay, so this is basically the perpendicular bisector, and it has two properties. A perpendicular bisector is going to bisect the line segment perpendicularly. Okay, when I say perpendicularly, it means that the angle between the perpendicular bisector and the line segment is going to be 90 degrees. So this is something that we know through O levels. This is something that you guys would be having an idea about already. Anyways, let's talk about finding the equation in this scenario. Okay. In order to find the equation for this, we know that we have multiple ways of finding equations. Let's say it is y equals mx plus c. It is y minus y1 equals m into x minus x1. Okay, so you can use this method or you can use the above equation. That's completely your choice, but we need two things certainly in order to find the equation. Okay, I am used to the second case every time since childhood. I'm using the second equation for finding the equation of a line. So for this, we need a point on the line. This point should be lying on the line on my perpendicular bisector because I'm finding its equation, and I need m. That is basically the slope. So can anyone tell me how can I find these two things? Yes.
Miss, the gradient is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1.
Very good.
The perpendicular bisector is m1 into m2 is equal to -1.
Yes. Okay, very good.
Then miss find the midpoint.
Excellent for the slope. Very well done. Very good. Very well done. Okay, excellent. Okay, now for the slope, what do we know? For the slope, I know I can find the slope of the line segment. Slope of AB is going to be it's y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now, obviously, you can just think about any of the points as x1, y1 and x2, y2. That's fine. So it's going to be minus 2 minus 1 divided by 7 minus 5. And minus 2 into minus 1 is minus 3 divided by minus into minus would become plus. So 7 plus 5 would be 12. Okay. And after simplifying this, I would get minus 1 by 4. Now this minus 1 by 4 is the slope of the line segment AB. Okay. Munja, Mutasam, can you tell me what would be the slope of the perpendicular bisector? Just a random guess. Very well done. Excellent. Very good. Okay. So the slope of the perpendicular bisector is going to be the negative reciprocal of this, and that would be 4. Very good. So we got one thing, and for the point on the line, what we can do is we can find the midpoint of the perpendicular. We can find the midpoint of the line segment AB. And I certainly know, since my perpendicular bisector is bisecting the line segment AB, so it would be passing through the midpoint of AB. So for the midpoint, the formula was very simple. It's x1 plus x2 divided by 2. It's y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And it would be minus 5 plus 7. And 1 minus 2 divided by 2 and 2. And finally, the midpoint is going to be positive 1 and minus 1 by 2. Okay. All right. Now everything is sorted. I have the slope of the perpendicular bisector. I have a point lying on the perpendicular bisector, so I can easily just use the point slope form and find the equation. So it is y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1. It would be y minus 1 by 2 plus slope turned out to be 4, and then x minus 1. So this would give me y plus 1 by 2 equals 4x minus 4. And after simplifying this entire thing, I am going to get y equals 4x minus, so we have minus 4 minus 1 by 2, it would become minus 4.5 or minus 9 by 2. It's completely your choice. Okay, this is going to be the answer. Now in some of the past paper questions, you'll get to see that the examiner would clearly specify that you need to give your answer in this form: ax plus by plus c equals 0. This means that everything is on one side. So for such scenarios, what we do is we just multiply 2 on both sides, and we take everything on the left side. Okay, so that is how you would get this form. Okay, any confusions with this?
Yes, we could have inserted the gradient 4 and the midpoint 1 and -1 over 2 in the equation y is equal to mx plus c, and then found the y-intercept.
Definitely, yes, definitely. You could have done that way as well, certainly. So for that, first you would have to calculate the intercept, and then again, once you already had the gradient, you were able to find the intercept. So that or this both are same, right? It's completely your choice. You can certainly use that as well. Both equations are correct. That is why I wrote both the equations. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. And at times the examiner is clearly, obviously we'll talk about the questions, but I'm just mentioning all of this over here, that you need to write down the answer in this form, y equals mx plus c. Even for this form, you can use the point slope form. You can use this equation, and look, after simplifying everything, this is certainly y equals mx plus c. This -9/2 is my y-intercept, and this 4 is my slope. Okay, so you can use any form, like we have only discussed 2 forms, and you would get the correct answer. Obviously for this one, you'll have to do some extra steps in both the cases, but overall the idea is similar. Okay. All right. Now the next thing is going to be the equation of a circle, and that's also very, very important. Okay. All right. Let me just give you a question to do, and then I am going to shift to past paper questions. Okay. We'll talk about circles in the next class, not for this class. Okay. So I'm giving you a very basic question. Just so during that I can take out the PDF and everything to save time. And just so I get to see if all of you were able to understand this thing or not. Okay, Mutasam, you as well, please. Okay. This is practice question that you need to do right now in front of me before we jump to past paper questions. Practice question number 1. Okay, it's very simple. Find the equation of the straight line passing through the points -4, 3 and 6, -2. Now it's very, very simple. I just want to see if you guys get the basic idea or not. Please try doing it quickly, and meanwhile I'll just take out the past paper PDF. And please just type your answer on the account to which I'm speaking, okay? Yes, Munja and Motasam, I did not get an answer from you guys. Please send me your answers.
Just 1 minute.
Okay, sure. Munja, are you done?
Almost.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Let's do it together. Okay, because I need to do past paper questions as well, and we have less time now. Okay, it's okay. You guys are trying. I trust you. From now on, please try. Doing questions quickly. All I want is an attempt from you guys. Okay. All right. Find the equation of the straight line. Again, the question is about finding the equation of straight line, and you have 2 points, and using these 2 points we need to find something. It's completely your choice. If you're comfortable in this, if you want to do it this way, y equals mx plus c, you can do it this way as well, and if you're comfortable you can do it this way as well. Both are completely fine, and for both of these equations you need two things. For the first one you need the slope and you need the y-intercept, and for the second one you need a point and you need the slope. Okay, so you need both the things. I have 2 points. Point is not an issue. I already have a point. I do not have the gradient. In order to find m, the formula is y2 minus y1 x2 minus x1. So this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. You can name it other way around as well. Your answers are going to be correct. So it's y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, and this would give you minus 5 by this is 6 and this is 10. Okay, this would give you minus 1 by 2. Okay, so you can use any of the two equations to find the equation of the straight line. I'm going with the second one because I already have a point. Using those 2 points, we need to find out the gradient. For gradient, we do y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. This was x2. That is basically 6. So this point was 10 and I got minus 1 by 2. And next, I'm only supposed to plug in the value. So it is y minus. Now, you can use any of the 2 points and find the answer. So I will use minus 4 comma 3 and m equals minus 1 by 2. So it is y minus 3 equals minus 1 by 2 x plus 4. Okay, and after simplifying I would get y equals minus 1 by 2x minus 2 plus 3, and this would give me y equals minus 1 by 2x plus 1. So this is going to be the answer. Now, were you guys finding it difficult, Munja and Motasam?
No, ma'am, I found the same
Yes.
answer.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, very good. Okay, all right. So this was the basic idea, and this was the question that I give you as practice. Let me stop the recording.